Hey guys, Avi here, and welcome back to our Swift series. In this video, we're going to be learning about something very cool, Swift protocols. Let's get started. So, what is a protocol? Well, a protocol is basically a blueprint of functions and properties that you mention inside of the protocol statement, and then whatever class or structure you assign the protocol to, that class or structure must have those properties, and it must have those functions, okay? So it's basically a blueprint that every class or every structure you assign the protocol to must follow. Now, if you've dealt with Java, maybe you've taken AVCS or some Java course, you may have learned about interfaces. Interfaces in Java are the exact same thing or very similar to Swift protocols, okay? So let's go ahead and create our very own protocol, and let me give you an example. We're talking about birds, okay? We know that we have a bird class, okay? We have the weight, we have the feather, we have the type. We also have a fly function. However, later on in our code, we realized that not all birds can fly. If we put an overall fly function and then all the different types of birds inherit our bird class, we'll have fly functions for those birds that can't fly, and that doesn't make sense. For example, the penguin or the emu. These birds can't fly, so they should not have the fly function. What we can do, however, is for the birds that do fly, we can give them a fly protocol. The fly protocol will have the method fly so that those birds can fly, but the birds cannot, such as the penguin and emu, they won't have the fly protocol. So go ahead and type fly, protocol fly, and just to show you what we can do with the protocol, I'm going to go ahead and create some properties. I'm going to go ahead and say weight, so var integer, var weight is going to be an integer, and now over here in curly braces, with protocols, you have to specify if it's a get, a set, or both. Now, get means read only. So if you only want to read the data that you initially put it as, then you use get. Later on, maybe the bird had a great breakfast, great lunch, and the weight increases, you might want to change the weight. So you would say get and set. And if you just wanted to set, well then, that doesn't make sense because you have to get the value at some point in time. So either use get or get and set, okay? So that's your weight. And now let's go ahead and have a fly function. So func fly, all right? And this should return us a string, okay? So very, very basic. But now if you think about it, any class that implements this protocol fly has to have a variable weight and it has to have a fly function. So let's go ahead and create our very own class for a specific bird. Now I'm going to go ahead and say pigeon just to make it straightforward. We all know a pigeon can fly. Now to tell the class or structure that, hey, you're implementing this protocol, you're going to go ahead and say colon and then fly, okay? So this pigeon has the fly protocol. That means that it must have this fly function and it must have this weight variable. So now what we have to do is go ahead and say var weight is going to be an integer, and in this case I'm just going to go ahead and give it a constant value just for now. And let's go ahead and say over here we have to initialize the func fly as well, and let's go ahead and just print out. So we have to return string, so return I can fly, okay? So that is my pigeon class. I've implemented the method and the property that were specified in my protocol. This should fully work. Let's go ahead and say what it's saying. Expected non-void return value. Let me go ahead and specify that we have to return a string. I forgot to do that. So func fly should return a string, return I can fly. Fantastic. Now let's go ahead and create a pigeon variable. Var p is equal to pigeon. And now over here, I'm going to call p.fly. So when I call this method, I'm going to go ahead and see I can fly. I have to print it out, obviously, to do that. Okay. So when you print out p.fly, you see I can fly. And now going back to the get and set methods, to actually see their purpose, I can go ahead and say p.weight. And my p.weight is going to be 50. Give it a few seconds. Let's go ahead and see it. 50. Okay. But what I can also do now is say p.weight is equal to 20. I can set that new value. And now over here, if I print out p.weight, I'll go ahead and see that my new weight is now 20. So that's the property of set. It allows us to change the value that we've originally set. Anyways, that's protocols in a nutshell, okay? Think of protocols as mandatory whatever you put in it. Whatever function I specify, whatever variable I specify, no matter what scenario it's in, I have to mention these two or whatever is in my protocol wherever I use it. So for example, my pigeon class, when I conform the fly protocol to it, I had to mention a weight variable somewhere, and I had to add in the fly function. So these are very useful when you have particular classes that have distinct functions, okay? If you have an overall class where everything uses it, then you put it in the class that's getting inherited. However, in the scenario where there's specific classes that have something unique, for example, all the birds that can fly versus all the birds that cannot fly, in that scenario, you could use a protocol to distinguish between the two. Anyways, guys, thanks so much for listening. If you have any questions, definitely let me know. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.
1, 2, 3,